can trust me. I'm not going to give you any, I'm not going to mislead you. You know, I'm a lawman.
But they're going to have this fight, Chris.
No, they're not.
Well,
no, hold on. I'm not going to discuss that with you because I've just said the fight doesn't happen.
Nobody seems to mention it is also a factor. Conor Benn being the younger man at his prime, yeah?
I don't know if I would say unhealthy. I mean, he was extremely strict.
Chris Eubank Sr. has openly stated that he is strongly against his son, Chris Eubank Jr., and fellow British boxer Conor Benn fighting, especially under the terms that were first set forth. His main worry is that Eubank Jr.'s contracted weight of 157 pounds is far less than his natural fighting weight. Citing significant health hazards, Eubank Sr. underlined that he does not and will not permit his son to go to such a low weight. Given the effects of dehydration and strength loss that are prevalent when boxers substantially reduce their weight, he feels that forcing a middleweight or super middleweight like Eubank Jr. to drop below 157 pounds could jeopardize his health.
If he's fighting at 168, you know, you go ahead and do what, but you cannot come down to 160. I will not allow that. I will not allow it, or let me rephrase it. May the divine providence not allow that fight to ever happen. Okay, you are to stay at 168, and you know, Matchroom, you know, let Conor go and have his illustrious career here in the United Kingdom and then in the United States, because he beats them all. That's how fantastic I think he is. Yeah, I've always backed that young man. I've always backed you, Conor. I've always backed you. Okay, you're sensible. You know, if it's true that you've said things about me which are not complimentary, I don't mind.
Eubank Sr. has attributed the original cancellation of the fight between his son, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn to what he calls divine intervention, believing a higher power stepped in to prevent an event that wasn't meant to happen. Eubank Sr. emphasized his role in halting the fight, stating that as a father and a former world champion with first-hand experience, he would always speak out and intervene if necessary. While he respects Benn's talent and determination, Eubank Sr. voiced concerns about Benn's circle, suggesting that those around him might be more focused on business and profit than his long-term well-being. He made it clear that his priority would always be his son's safety, and he couldn't support a fight he believes poses a significant risk. Eubank Sr.'s stance reflects his deep concern for the potential dangers to both fighters, particularly in such a high-stakes match.
You can trust me. Yeah, you've seen me get up in a fight I can't win and walk back into the fire. You can trust me. I'm not going to give you any, I'm not going to mislead you. You know, I'm a lawman.
But they're going to have this fight, Chris.
No, they're not.
Well,
no, hold on. I'm not going to discuss that with you because I've just said the fight doesn't happen.
You can't.
It's finished.
You can't stop it.
Again, I stopped it the first time. Do you want me to qualify that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the fight was made, I said that fight is not happening. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything again up until the day of the fight, where it was cancelled the day before. So let's do the same thing again.
Chris Eubank Sr. has always been a figure of immense discipline and control in his son's life, especially regarding Chris Eubank Jr.'s boxing career. His strict approach was never just about teaching boxing techniques, but about shaping his son into a fighter who adhered to his vision of excellence. Eubank Sr. instilled in Jr. a sense of purpose, focus, and commitment, molding him with a specific style and philosophy that he believed would lead to greatness in the ring. However, reflecting on the current state of boxing, Eubank Sr. is increasingly vocal about his dissatisfaction with the sport. He criticizes the promotional culture that prioritizes big names over genuine ability, noting how fights have shifted from being about skill to being driven by hype. his frustration with Eubank Jr.'s career becomes clear when he says, "I trained you, I brought you up in this boxing, and I gave you an extraordinary start." Eubank Sr. believes his son's natural talent was extraordinary, but the influence of Roy Jones Jr. has diluted that raw potential. He feels that Junior's transformation into a more ordinary fighter is a result of abandoning the style that made him unique. Eubank Sr. doesn't mince words, asserting that this isn't just about the upcoming fight. It's about his son returning to the style and mentality that once made him great. He is adamant that the key to Junior's success lies in reconnecting with the potential he was originally molded to achieve.
Would the public be interested in such a fight? Unfortunately, because promoters have been constantly rinsing the public with these fights, which actually are about names, not about abilities. So, they would take an interest in this fight. I think it's okay for me to actually say this. I trained you. I brought you up in this boxing. I gave you an extraordinary start. That is based on your ability to box. The style that you had was...
Chris Eubank Jr. has always been open about the complexities of his relationship with his father, Chris Eubank Sr. Growing up under the strict supervision of his father, Eubank Jr. often felt the weight of his father's high expectations and intense discipline. He reveals how his father's controlling nature during his formative years shaped much of his behavior, creating a constant pressure to perform and conform both inside and outside the ring. This strict environment, while instilling discipline, also led to frustration and rebellion, with Eubank Jr. admitting that it affected his academic performance and limited his ability to express himself in typical ways for a young person. While Eubank Jr. acknowledges his father's crucial role in shaping his boxing career and style, there remains an underlying sense of conflict. Despite the immense influence his father had, Eubank Jr. feels the lingering effects of his father's control even as an adult. His father's claim of ownership over his success, stating that he trained him to become the man he is today, while a testament to his guidance, also serves as a reminder that Eubank Jr. has never fully escaped his father's shadow. While Eubank Jr. is grateful for the foundation his father provided, he also yearns for autonomy, a space where he can define himself on his own terms. The constant reminder of his father's influence on his life and career underscores his desire for independence and the ability to chart his own path without the constraints of his father's control.
If I would say unhealthy, I mean, he was extremely strict. I got away with nothing. If I messed up in school, if I didn't do a chore, if I got into a fight with my brothers, there was physical punishment, whether it was a belt, whether it was a cane, whether it was, a slap. Back then, in the 90s, that was how you disciplined your kids. So that is where my fear obviously originated from, having to deal with that. But again, that type of punishment and that type of upbringing, that type of strictness, it made me who I am today. It prepared me for the brutality of the sport of boxing.
Chris Eubank Sr. has always been a vocal figure in his son's boxing career, frequently expressing his belief that Eubank Jr. had the potential to become one of the greatest in the sport. Reflecting on...
Don't listen, you're gonna feel.
So now he's not listening when you're winning. He can't win.
He can't win
now, can he?
He has never listened.
Make your mind up, Chris. 1 minute.
No, I've made up my mind. You're just hearing it for the first time.
Okay.
He's never listened. He's my son. I know what he is.
I know, better than all of us.
My son could have been a tremendous fighter. He electrified me when watching him.
I agree on that, but he hasn't been, has he?
Because he doesn't listen, and when you don't listen,
their shared journey, Eubank Sr. feels a deep sense of disappointment, believing that his son's career never reached its true potential due to a failure to fully follow the guidance he provided.
What's the biggest thing you've been wrong about in the last year?
that's funny. My biological children. Move on.
What have you been wrong about with your biological
You asked me the question, I gave you the answer. That's private. Move on.
What's your biggest regret?
My son asked me, Sebastian, he said to me, Dad, we were in Malibu. He said, Dad, let's go and smoke a spliff together and walk around the block. Let's walk around the block and smoke a spliff together. The greatest offer of my life I turned down because I was broke. I did something unspeakable.
What was the unspeakable thing you did?
Not your business. How dare you? If I
Don't ask, you don't get.
You should know. It's called discernment. I've brought you close enough for you to understand. Be careful to question me, young man.
Is convinced that had Eubank Jr. adhered to the training regimen and boxing philosophy he instilled, he would have become a dominant force in the ring. Eubank Sr. has been transparent about his frustration, stating that Eubank Jr.'s decision to deviate from the path he had carefully mapped out.
As a trainer, somebody who's trained fighters for a long time, do you feel that that's going to be a big part of this fight? And do you feel like it's a bit dangerous for Chris?
Well, most definitely. If anyone should know, his father, Senior, he said his mind, and I second that opinion. That's a factor. The weight is a factor. The age, nobody seems to mention, is also a factor. Conor Benn being the younger man at his prime, yeah? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Ben, especially the way he fights like his father, very aggressive, yeah? And listen, if I'm gonna have to, I normally can't say to you, predict what I believe will happen. Christopher Jr. is the bigger man, granted. It depends. It depends. If he's been living the lifestyle, that's also a factor.